So I'm a poet, a writer in general, but I got a master's in fine arts in poetry. Look at this cat. This hat is way too loud, isn't it? Look at that. And then you flip it over, and oh no, Iron Man is punching Captain America. Maybe I'll read it like this, but I'm not that type of poet. Anyway, um, yeah, I just wrote this in like the last like hour or so. It's let me see, how would I put this? Uh, 12 plus 12 times 5. That's how many lines it is. So it's two stanzas. Each stanza is 12 lines, and each line contains 5 syllables, or roughly 5 syllables, because you can count the syllables slightly differently. Anyway, I'm gonna read it, and then I'll tell you a little bit about it, like the genesis of it. Not all poems are written exactly uh, from the speaker's own personal life. And I think that's a mistake most people make when they're listening to poetry or reading poetry, is that they assume that it's a confessional kind of thing, where this is like somebody's diary in verse. This is actually based on something that really happened, but it's not. You know, I tried to write something as universal as possible, even though there's specific details in it. So anyway, it's called New Year's Eve, or just New Year's. I could go with either title. So let me straighten up and read this the way I'd read this. I'm gonna move this so I'm looking directly at the poem as I read this to you. That's a little bit better, I think. New Year's. Drunk off wine and life, we shovel ceviche by the half-pound down our throats, tortilla chips like earth movers, tilling tart lime juice, drenched bits of snapper, onions, tomatoes, serrano chilies, and avocado into our waiting bellies of hunger. Surrounded, friendly faces contorted and laughter-stricken, dole out anecdotes met with choruses of thrumming laughter, mostly playful jibes, and ad hominem terms of endearment. But these sweet nothings mean more instantly than dearer buddies. Okay, so I just wrote that really quickly, and lately I've been really interested in like metrical verse of like 5 syllable lines, because I went through a quick period of writing people poems where I wrote a couple different haikus, and like what I found on the internet researching is you can vary between 5 7 5 to 7 5 7, and then it still counts like it's a variation, and one is more common than the other, especially when it's taught. So anyway, I decided to just do something where I use that many lines, and so I wrote the first stanza, and I was like, I'm going to try to match it by doing another 12 lines with 5 syllables each line. As far as the genesis of where this kind of idea came from, I was driving home and I was thinking about how good ceviche is. It's like it's one of my favorite Mexican dishes, and it's not just Mexican. There are different variations, different cultures. Like there's a Peruvian slash Japanese fusion ceviche. Just Wikipedia, there you'll find out a lot about ceviche. And the word itself, it technically isn't like a purely Spanish word. It comes from Arabic originally. What a lot of people talk about with the etymology of that, I guess, is that it might come from an Arabic word that means cooked in vinegar. But again, I'm just getting this from stuff I've seen on the internet, including Wikipedia, so I'll cite a source. And but this specific memory I have of ceviche was this past New Year's Eve, 2012 into 2013. Um, my friend Sylvia, who's also a really talented writer, um, brought this batch of ceviche that her mom had picked up from like a taqueria, and I just said that very Anglo taqueria. I don't know. And that sounded maybe too stereotypical. But anyway, she brought this really awesome ceviche, and we were just there, with authentic tortilla chips, not like the kind you buy at Ralph's or anything, and just like, or whatever supermarket you have in your area, and we are just like pounding ceviche. I mean, that ceviche got demolished, got destroyed. The cats are talking to each other. My cat is talking to a neighbor's cat. It's pretty awesome. He's so lonely. He used to be an outside cat, now he's an inside cat. He hates his life, but he loves his life too. But he's always complaining and wanting more food, and he's very pissy about the food he eats. But anyway, ceviche is awesome. Ceviche is really good. It kind of combines all my favorite things about Mexican seafood and Mexican cuisine in something that works like a dip, or a salad topping. There's so many things you can do with it. But there was just this specific moment where, like 5 or 6 drunk people out of a party of maybe 20 or 30 people, given the time of night, were just sitting around this bowl of ceviche, this big trough of ceviche, just sort of eating and eating and eating and talking and drinking and having a good time. And these were people that, from my experience, like I hadn't hung out with a lot. One or two of them, yeah, but like for the most part, it was my girlfriend and these people who were mostly her friends, but we were also mutual friends, and I just really enjoyed myself. And usually, I feel like New Year's Eve, because of the media push and what you're taught it's supposed to mean from movies and TV shows and just the countdown on TV and the ball dropping in Times Square and everything. It's a stupid movie starring a cavalcade of A-list and B-list actors and whatever. You're trained to believe that New Year's is supposed to be magical, and because of that pressure, I don't think I've ever had like a really great New Year's Eve. Um, since I was like a kid, and this was the first time in my now 30s that I had a New Year's that was really awesome. And it meant a lot, to have a good New Year's Eve. So anyway, that's the poem. I'll post a link to it in the comments, and if you're into poetry, you can comment on it and tell me what you like and argue with me about how many syllables I actually used, because I'm not, form is something that's meant to be broken to create new forms, but I like to employ some form of form because form is inescapable, as T.S. Eliot is famously quoted for saying, as saying, "You can't escape the form, man. The ghosts of it are always there." So, anyway, hope you dug the poem. Leave a comment, say hello, yada yada yada. Adios.